यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि राधमाधव जय वीरविहारी जय गोपीजनवल्लभा श्रीवरदारि यशोदनन्दन गजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन गजनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि राधमाधव हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय गौरनिताय 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 जय गौरनिताय जय राधा माधव राधा जय राधा दामोदर राधा जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौरा हरि बोल गौरा हरि बोल गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल
Hari Hari, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Very beautiful, very melodious. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Sindhu Mataji. So, dear devotees, let us start by the time we do Mangala Charan, so others will also join. Let me introduce you today to our today's speaker is going to be Sanjay Menon, my eldest son. By profession, he is pursuing as commercial pilot. He is aspiring to Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And he has taken sessions in other groups. I think he's speaking first time in this group. So let's welcome him by one time chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Over to you, Sanjay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. I would like to welcome all of you for today's class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
So I've been asked. Firstly, I'm very grateful to be given this opportunity to take this to share my thoughts on the topics of Srimad Bhagwatam. It is a great honor. I feel myself very, very privileged, very blessed to be here, to spend some time with all you Vaishnavas to discuss on the beautiful pastimes of the Lord. I was assigned by the people of ICF to lead us today on the topics of the 10th canto. We'll be dealing with chapter 10. We are following the series of Manigriva and Nalkuvera being cursed by Narada Muni. So I was attending yesterday's class and The speaker mentioned such beautiful points on how Narada Muni is contemplating before giving a curse to the sons of Kuvera. And I thought, it was so nicely presented. So today, of course, I've been assigned to discuss on verses 8 and 9. So that will be the theme for the class today. So what I will do now is I will quickly share the verses and we will walk through it. And as and when people join in, we'll continue with the class, because I believe we'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes on reading the translation and the purport. And then from there on, we'll get on to discuss the contents of the purport. So Hare Krishna, this will be the agenda for today. So I hope the screen is visible to all of you. Y'all can just quick thumbs up if it is. Let me know.
That's Prabhuji vision. You can see.
Amazing. So I will begin with reading the verse, and then we can have volunteers for reading the translation and purport. Yeah, you all can either type it in the chat box or just raise your hand, and I will pick it up and we can assign it from there. All right. Okay. So beginning with the first verse. Shri Narada Uvacha Nahi Anyo Jishato Joshyan Buddhi Brahmsho Rajo Guna Srimadad Abhijita Tyadir Yatratri Dyutam Ashava. So there goes the verse. So I saw Krishnamurti had raised their hand first, so I will assign the translation to that devotee. Please, you can go ahead and read the translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki jai. Narada Muni said, among all the attractions of material enjoyment, the attraction of riches bewilders one's intelligence more than having beautiful bodily features. Taking birth in an aristocratic family and being learned, when one is uneducated but falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women, and gambling. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. And we can have Sudha Mataji to read the purport. Since today the purports are, we will read both the purports.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pronouns. Purport by His Divine Grace Srimad Prabhupada ki jai. Among the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, people are certainly conducted by the lower qualities, namely passion and ignorance, and especially by passion. Conducted by the mode of passion, one becomes more and more involved in material existence. Therefore, human life is meant for subduing the modes of passion and ignorance and advancing in the mode of goodness. Tada rajastamo bhava kama labdhaya chaye cheta etay anavidam stitam sattve prasidati. This is culture. One must subdue the modes of passion and ignorance. In the mode of passion, when one is falsely proud of wealth, one engages his wealth only for three things, namely wine, women, and gambling. We can actually see, especially in this age, that those who are that those who have unnecessary riches simply try to enjoy these three things. In Western civilization, these three things are very prominent because of an unnecessary increase of wealth. Narada Muni considered all this in the case of Manigriva and Kuvera because he found in them so much pride in the wealth of their father Kuvera. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Sudha Mataji. Thank you so much, Krishnamurti Prabhu, for reading the translation. Moving on to the next verse, and I see Sindhu Mataji has raised her hand, so we'll give her the translation. And those who want to read the purport can also raise their hand. Yes, so we'll quickly read the verse. We'll read the verse.
Yeah. 10.10.9.
That's correct, Mataji. Would you like to read the verse?
Yeah. I'm reading now. Am I audible?
Yeah, very much. Please.
Hanyante pashavo yatra nirdhayair ajitatmabhi manyamanair imam deham ajaram mrityunashwaram. Translation by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Unable to control their senses, who are falsely proud of their riches or their birth in aristocratic families, are so cruel that to maintain their perishable bodies, which they think will never grow old or die, they kill poor animals without mercy. Sometimes they kill animals merely to enjoy an excursion.
I think maybe while you were reading the translation, you might have forgot to read the word, the most important word, which is always read by Srila Prabhupada.
Wants to read? Okay, you want me to read?
Oh no, Matari, I'm just pulling your leg. Nothing. But Srila Prabhupada, if you listen to any of his lectures, you will notice that he always used the word rascals, and he ensured that there was emphasis given on this word. So let us make sure we remember Srila Prabhupada as we're reading the translation. But nicely read. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for reading the verse as well. And Ambika Mataji, you may read the purport.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Purport. When the modes of passion and ignorance increase in human society, giving rise to unnecessary economic development, the result is that people become involved with wine, women, and gambling. Then, being mad, they maintain big slaughterhouses or occasionally go on pleasure excursions to kill animals, forgetting that, however, one may try to maintain the body is subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. Such foolish rascals engage in sinful activities one after another. Being dushkatas, they completely forget the existence of the Supreme Controller, who is sitting within the core of everyone's heart. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridaya Deshe Arjuna Tishtati. That Supreme Controller is observing every bit of one's activity, and he rewards or punishes everyone by giving one a suitable body made by material nature. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Udhani Mayaya. In this way, sinful persons automatically receive punishment in different types of bodies. The root cause of this punishment is that when one unnecessarily accumulates wealth, one becomes more and more degraded, not knowing that this wealth will be finished with his next birth. Na sadhu manye yata atmano yama asan api klesha asadeha. Bhagavad Gita 5.54. Animal killing is prohibited. Every living being, of course, has to eat something. Jivo jivasya jivanam. But one should be taught what kind of food one should take. Therefore, the Upanishad instructs, Tena tyaktena bhunjitaha, one should eat whatever is allotted for human beings. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.26, Patram pushpam phalam toyam यो मे bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktya upahartam asnami pattatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit of water, I will accept it. A devotee therefore does not eat anything that would require slaughterhouses for poor animals. Rather, devotees take prasada of Krishna, tena tyaktena bhunjita. Krishna recommends that one give him patram pushpam phalam toyam, a leaf, a flower, fruit or water. Animal food is never recommended for human beings. Instead, a human being is recommended to take prasada, remnants of food left by Krishna. Yatna stitastinaha, santo muchyante sarvo kilvisha. Bhagavad Gita 3.13. If one practices eating prasada, even if there is some little sinful activity involved, one becomes free from the result of sinful acts. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshununmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshanvadi Pasyadistarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langyate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dhinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Seeking prayers of all the senior Vaishnavas present today and all the senior Vaishnavas who have constantly blessed me in my life, my parents, my spiritual masters, everyone senior to me in any way who has guided me to make me capable to share some insights from whatever I have learned so far. I seek their blessings today as we discuss the topics of Srimad Bhagwatam. It may appear that I'm speaking or these are my ideas or emanating from my mouth and going into your ears, but this knowledge is coming ultimately from the Lord and from the Lord through his devotees, and I happen to hear that message and I'm merely the instrument conveying that message. So seeking all your blessings. And speaking of these two verses, I was listening to yesterday's class given by Prabhuji, and he very wonderfully mentioned the condition of Nalkuvera and Manigriva. These are great devotees of Lord Shiva, and at the same time they are wealthy like their father. And we talk about the different activities that is undertaken by Nalkuvera and Manigriva, and it's interesting that we observe the same traits even in our own experiences even today as we look at the various activities of people who are rich, and we may think that how is it that people who have amassed lots of wealth, these supposed millionaires and billionaires, how is it that their activities are so downtrodden and sometimes abominable, despicable? And we may think, and we may assume also, so what do we understand from this? Is it that money corrupts? And one needs to understand this, that unlike any of the attachments, the said attachments, any of the attractions of this material world, there is one which will always keep us or attract us more, than anything, and that is wealth. There is a verse in the Bhagwatam where Kunti Maharani says this: Janmaishwarya Shruta Shribhir Edamana Madah Puman Naivar Hatya Vidatum Vai Amakinchana Gocharam, which basically means that, oh Lord, I don't want Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, and Shribhir. Yeah, I don't want a great birth. I don't want wealth. I don't want beauty, and I don't want fame, because all of these four things will only drive me further away from you, because these are ultimately opulences. But sort of the kingpin of all these opulences is money. It is written in the previous verse, and we can see Srila Prabhupada is writing. In fact, it's said by Narad Muni that nothing fools you more than riches. And let us understand, this is coming from Narada Muni. Now, Narada Muni is not just stating something esoterical, philosophical. He is talking out of experience. And you may ask, oh, but how is Narada Muni speaking out of experience? He's a sannyasi. He's a parivrajaka, just as Prabhu mentioned in yesterday's class, that he's always traveling. He's a preacher. So where is the question of money? And in his previous life, not the life of him being the maidservant, but the life before that, it's mentioned in the Puranas that Narada Muni was living as a Gandharva, and he had all the wealth that you can imagine. The Gandharvas are quite opulent, heavenly class of men and women. And one of the great qualities of Gandharvas are that they're very artistically capable people. So they have lots of talents. They can sing, they can dance, they can paint. But we talk more of their singing and dancing, and they can play lots of instruments. So very, very musically gifted, heavenly beings. So Narada was one of them, and he happened to own an aircraft. He had many beautiful consorts, and it is mentioned that he had once spent a lot of wealth, and he went into an assembly, and it is in that assembly where, because he had lots of wealth, he was engaged in intoxication, and engaged in intoxication when he was dancing in front of women. So many of the sages who were present there, they thought of this very disrespectfully, and they took offense of Narada Muni's act. So so they cursed Narada Muni. So Narada Muni is not just speaking philosophy here; he's also talking from his own personal experience. And what we can derive from this is that with wealth comes a lot of attachment. So for many of the Hindi-speaking folks here in our audience today, I have a question for you. What is the Hindi word for attachment? Can anyone just tell me?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Is it
Yes.
Asakti Prabhuji?
Yes, it's Asakti. Sunil Prabhu is here. Our great
Thank you.
speaker yesterday. Dhanat pranams, Prabhu, to you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji said Asakti. And I would just like to give you all a phrase which you all should remember. Okay, which goes something like this: Asakti nahi jasakti. Always remember this. Yeah, asakti nahi ja sakti. That once you get so attached to something, it's like stepping into quicksand. Or it's like when when you get a a rash or like a boil on your skin. Yeah, you feel like itching it. So but you don't realize when you're itching it, you're making it much worse, but the pleasure that you get from itching it is so much. So that is one of the qualities of attachment. You just get more and more entangled. It's very difficult to remove yourself from attachment. So Narad Muni here is he's speaking from a very deep place. There is a story to illustrate what happens with attachment. Even if you don't try, uh, even if you're not attracted towards something, just the presence of it or just being familiar to something can also lead to attachment. So the story is to demonstrate just that. Once, there was a great sage who was very attached, to the process of bhakti, and he was meditating. He would spend his entire day just thinking about the Lord, just glorifying the Lord, chanting the names of the Lord. And he was obviously a great sage, so he would perform lots of yagyas. And very soon he had gained the piety to replace Indra. So Indra became quite worried. So these demigods, they're very insecure people. So anyone who tries to usurp their throne, so Indra gets very disturbed, and he tries to devise means to sort of uh, distract them, or remove, or try to make other means so that his throne is secure. So what does Indra do? He devised a special plan, and he says to all his ministers that, just give me 1 year, and in 1 year, I'm going to change this man. He's no longer going to be the sage that everyone used to praise him of. And everyone was puzzled, like, how is that going to happen? And so Indra, disguised as a beggar, uh, like a soldier, it's written in the story. He was like a beggar kind of soldier, and he comes at the door of this great sage, and he says, "Oh, my dear master, that I've been roaming around this forest for quite some time, and I have this great sword." So he removed uh, a very flashy, very royal sword uh, from his holster, and uh, it was bejeweled with diamonds and golds. And so, such was a sword which would only be owned by someone who was very opulent, or who was a king or an emperor. So the sage, moment he saw that, he said, "No, no, no, I'm a simple man. I live in the forest. I sustain on whatever people give me. So I'm not supposed to keep all this. Yes, sannyasis, they don't own anything. So I don't want to have any belongings. Please take this sword." Then Indra, who was disguised as this soldier, he says, "Look, I'm not giving it as a gift to you. I'm just going for 1 year. I'm traveling. I will come back and I'll take this. So please, if you can just keep this near your, uh, just keep it in your cottage somewhere. I'll come and collect it in some time. Just give me a moment." Hare Krishna. So sorry about that. Apology. I apologize for the inconvenience. So as I was saying this story, so the sage, he quite reluctantly agreed to take care of the sword. But the sage, he would behave very irrationally. So whenever he would clean his cottage, he would make sure that the sword is not even touched. He would not go anywhere near the sword because he's a sannyasi and he should not come in contact with such things. So okay, so he would spend his time. Soon what happened? Months go by, and one day, as he's trying to clean the place, he says, well, where the sword is placed, there is a lot of dust that is accumulated there, so maybe I should clean it. So he lifts the sword and then he starts cleaning the place. Then he places it back. Another couple months go by. Then one fine day, he's like, the sword is, he's look at the condition. The condition in which the soldier gave it to me, it was so neat, and look what I've done. So then, he took a cloth and started cleaning that sword. Said, okay, when he comes back, at least he'll know that I took care of it. And then one day, just as he's coming back after his bath, he sees the sword and he smiles. And he's like, wow, look at this. Such a nice sword in my cottage. So he just picked it up and just swung it once. And then some time goes by. And what happens one day, he sees while he's sitting in meditation, there is an innocent, it's almost like a rabbit that is passing by, and the rabbit gets attacked by a wild animal, like a tiger, something like that. So what happens is the wild animal is attacking an animal that's more weak. So that animal can do nothing to defend itself. And all this is happening, and who's witnessing it? It's the saint. And as he's seeing all this take place, he's thinking, oh, I'm sitting here, I should do something about this, because what I'm seeing is not fair. The tiger is trying to eat the rabbit. So then immediately he picks up the sword and he rushes to the scene and kills the tiger with the sword. And that was the first step when he engaged in an act of sin. And so after that begins his attachment with the sword. And then soon, as time went by, he left his priestly activities, he left all his devotional activities, and he became a hunter. And he would subsist by killing animals. So this story just goes to show that how, even if you're not attracted towards anything material, the material world is designed in a way that it will attract you. There are things, there are elements in this world, and money is one such thing. Even if you're not attracted to it, it will try to lure you in, and you're just looking for that one hook. Once you're hooked, that's it. Then and if you're someone who's very passionate, so then it's the greed will kick in, and one thing leads to another. Then from there, it's not going to take too long till you just keep on sinning and sinning. And there was another story which I would have loved to talk about. Maybe I will discuss that at the end if we get some time. But let us move on to the next verse. But it is sufficing to say at this point that Srila Prabhupada has stressed enough in this verse that it is ultimately wealth, which is the highest of all other material attractions, that bewilders the intelligence of a jiva more than anything. Yeah. So because wealth gives you it gives you the power to engage in more sin. Yeah. So it's like handing, a blade in the hands of a murderer. So what's going to happen? You're encouraging the murderer to commit more crimes. So that is something that happens when you give a lot of wealth to an individual who does not know how to utilize the wealth. Moving on to the next verse, Srila Prabhupada then talks about what happens when such wealth is handed over to people, and then they think that we don't know what to use this wealth for. So now, let us engage it in our own enjoyment. So they will spend it on wine, wealth, women, and then the next step of that, because now that they've already began sinning, how does passion lead to ignorance? Now the next step is animal slaughter. Yeah. So then the individual will open lots of slaughterhouses, and slaughterhouses initially to fulfill the needs of his tongue, and then mercilessly killing animals just as a sport. Yeah. So just look around, and you will find lots of people. In fact, when I was living in US for 3 years, I would meet a lot of my colleagues who would tell me that during spring break or during Thanksgiving, there is a certain place we like to go for hiking, where we can go and we can basically hunt for animals that we can use later for Thanksgiving, or they use that to stock up meat, or they use that to skin them and use their skins for many commercial purposes, which I thought was quite sinful, in many ways. So here is Srila Prabhupada talking about it in this verse, in the purport. And what I thought, was important to mention in today's class was just Prabhupada has highlighted Bhagavad Gita's verse here, 9.26. Now, I've been told that there are some newcomers here in this group, and I would highly, highly recommend you all to go and read this verse, 9.26, where Krishna is saying to his in the translation, if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. That's the translation. That's it. That's the translation. But Prabhupada, he wrote a 5-para purport to that verse. And one may think, oh, why did Srila Prabhupada write such a massive purport for just one verse of Bhagavad Gita, that one verse? Because this is one of the foundation principles of our system, the Gaudiya Vaishnava system, and these are one of the regulative principles as well of no meat eating. So Srila Prabhupada, if you open the Bhagavad Gita and you flip the pages, you will find in almost 90% of his purports, Srila Prabhupada is always going to reconnect the individual to the basic principle. Yeah, so anyone who may not read the book from cover to cover, even if he opens any of the purports, you will still get the same message that you would have if you read the entire Bhagavad Gita, or if you just read one purport. It would be more or less the same. So which is why I highly recommend you all, please go and read the purport of Bhagavad Gita 9.26. But to simply summarize in a couple minutes, what Srila Prabhupada talks about is that human beings are allotted as certain kinds of foods to eat. One asks the question that where it is written that we must be vegetarian and we should not eat meat and all that. So actually in the Vedas, you will not find this distinction of veg and non-veg. That is done by the food industry. Yeah. So if you're looking for that distinction, you will not find that anywhere in the Vedas. In fact, the Vedic literature talks about distinctions of food based on the modes. Yeah, you have food in the modes of goodness, foods in the mode of passion, and then ignorance. So Srila Prabhupada, in many of the purports, in this purport specifically, he talks about food that is prescribed for in the mode of goodness. So if one has the desire to progress their lives spiritually, to engage in understanding who God is and move closer to God, then there are certain foods which, if he or she consumes, will assist and act as a catalyst in the process, basically. And so this is a suggestion and an encouragement that these are the kind of foods that should be eaten. But also, Srila Prabhupada also mentions this verse, yeah, dharmastu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Yeah. So what does this mean? This means that whatever Krishna says is dharma. Whatever God says is dharma. So when Krishna makes a statement and he says, just offer me with devotion leaf, flower, fruit, or water, that means that these are the allotted, or anything, food which is prepared by a combination of these elements is what should also be consumed by us. So it is not about what we should eat. It is the principle here, the underlying principle is that whatever we consume actually must be remnants of what is offered to the Lord. And now the Lord is saying, here is what I would accept if you offer with love. So our job is simple. Our job is to understand what the Lord wants us to do and then to follow those instructions. So what Krishna is saying here is that you can offer me these items, and these items are easily available. So the process of Krishna consciousness does not stop, because even a beggar can easily find a piece of leaf, a flower, some water, and a piece of fruit. But the underlying principle here is it should be offered with love. Because Krishna, it's not that he's looking for these items. He's not hungry. Yeah, the Lord will not remain hungry if you don't feed him. But the Lord is giving us an opportunity to offer some loving service and engage in a relationship with the Lord. So one should take that step, one should take that endeavor, of course, and do it with love. So the Lord is not looking for just the ritual, yeah, which is to offer a fruit. The Lord does not care if you place a fruit, if you place a flower or a leaf or some water in front of the altar. He doesn't care about the ritual. That's just the ritual. Yeah. He cares about what is the underlying intent. The Lord is not interested in the content. He's interested in the intent behind that content. Yeah. Think of it like a relationship between a man and a woman. Yeah. So a man, when he gets a rose for a woman, the woman is not interested in the bouquet of flowers or the rose. What she cares about is that gesture of love. Yeah. So when you have the spirit that is attached with the ritual, that's when it becomes spiritual. So this act of offering leaf, flower, fruit, or water is, along with love, makes your intention more strong towards the Lord. And so the Lord says, this is what I accept. If the Lord said that I would accept meat or fish, yeah, then that was a different story. That's what Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. But the Lord is not saying that. So that automatically means that these are not things that we must consume, therefore. So hence, animal killing is prohibited. So if I had more time, I would talk about the different ideas in the Vedas, because in some places there is mentioned animal sacrifice in the Vedas. So just to remove all confusion for everyone, maybe we can have another session on that. But just to close the session, for those, just to encourage those present here to not to become vegetarian, here are just some of the statistics or data that I had picked up while reading a Harvard Health paper, which was published on 15th of April. And here it is mentioned in the paper that what are the benefits, the environmental benefits of being a vegetarian. And I'm just reading data here, so that I'm not speaking out of my head. So this is just numbers that is coming. So it takes 25 gallons of water to grow 1 pound of wheat. At the same time, it takes 5,000 gallons of water to grow 1 pound of beef. Yeah. Speaking of land, so it takes 30% of the Earth's land mass dedicated to raising animals for food. Yeah, forests are compromised to create crops for animal feed. Grassland and freshwater sources are degraded from overgrazing, compaction, and fecal contamination. And then what about air? Speaking of air, 18% of greenhouse gases are attributed to livestock. Livestock produce over 100 polluting gases that contribute significantly to global warming. So here are the numbers, here are the environmental impacts, and here are the benefits of being vegetarian. Maybe if the session was longer, we could have discussed more. But anyway, I thank everyone for being present here today. I thank you all for the opportunity. And I will close the session for today. We can open it up for any questions, suggestions, comments that anyone would have. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much then, everyone. Once again, if there were any offenses committed during the class, please kindly forgive me. I'm still learning. I'm still growing spiritually as well. So seeking your blessings at the same time. So now we'll open up for the Damodar Arati. We have here Kamalmukhi Madhavi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Sanjay. Wonderful class. Thank you so much.
I'd like to open the session.
Yeah, 1 second. Sanjay, I can't hear you. You can hear me?
Oh, yes, Mataji.
You can see the altar, right? Can I start?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everybody. I request everybody to bless Sanjay. He's still learning, he's growing. I hope everybody is ready with ghee lamp, so we all can offer the lamp to Lord Damodar. Beautiful altar has been positioned, please. Yeah, we can go ahead, Mataji, please.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Namamishwaram Sachidanandam
लसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानं यशोदावियोलुकलाधवमानं परामृष्टमत्यन्ततो धृत्य गोप्या रुदन्तं मुहुर्नेत्र युग्मं मृजन्तं कराम्बोजयुग्मेन सातङ्कनेत्रम् मुश्वासकं पात्रे रेखाङ्ककण्ठा स्थितग्रैव दामोदरं भक्तिवत्रम् इति दृष्ट्वलीलाभिरानन्दकुण्डे स्वघोषं निमज्जन्तमाख्यापयन्तम् तदीयसिताग्नेषु भक्तजितत्वं पुनः प्रेमतस्तं शतावृत्तिवन्दे वरं देवमोक्षं न मोक्षं वदिं वा न चान्यं वृणेऽहं वरेशादपीह इदं ते वपुर्नाथ गोपालबालम् सदा मे मनस्याविरस्तां किमन्ये इदं ते मुखाम्बोजम् आत्यन्तनीलैः वृतं कुन्तलैः स्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या मोश्चुम्बितं बिम्बारक्तधरं मे मनस्याविरस्तं मालं लक्षलाभ्ये नमो देवदामोदर अनन्त विष्णु प्रसीद प्रभो दुःखजलाब्धिमग्नं कृपादृष्टिवृष्याति दीनं बतानु गृहानेश मामज्ञमेदैक्षदृश्य कुबेरात्मजौ बद्ध मृत्यैव यद्वत् त्वया मोचितौ भक्तिभाजौ कृतौ च तथा प्रेम भक्तिं स्वाकां मे प्रयच्छ न मोक्षे ग्राहो मेऽस्ति दामोदरेह नमस्ते सुधाम्ने स्फुरादीप्तिधाम्ने त्वदीयोदराय विश्वस्य धाम्ने नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयाय प्रियायै नमो नन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं नमो राधिकायै त्वदीयाय प्रियायै नमो नन्तलीलाय देवाय तुभ्यं नमामीश्वरं सच्चिदानन्दरूपम् लसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानं यशोदाविलोकलाधवमानं परामृष्टमत्यन्ततो धृत्य गोप्या हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय दामोदरा 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 जय राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर राधा जय राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर राधे जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल। दामोदर भगवान की जय, कार्तिक मास की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा। थैंक यू माता जी।
Hari Bol. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot to you, Mataji, for taking up the seva and giving us the darshan of Lord Damodar.
Thank you for giving the seva, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, dear devotees, if we have no further questions, I want to thank you all for joining. So, let's say the Vaishnava Pranam. Vancha kalpatarvesha, kripa sindhubhesha, pati pranam pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnavanda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, everybody. With everybody's permission, can I log out now?
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.